Hi Josh, hi Ross. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Hi there, how's it going?
Hi.
We're really good, I think. Really excited to speak to you. No, we are excited to speak to them though, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I've been seeing all your stuff on Instagram and it's just brilliant. And I know, Ross, we first met through a mutual friend, didn't we, Siobhan?
Yes, we did indeed. That was fun.
Who you just had to ring and check that you had met us.
I did. I've just sent her a quick WhatsApp to double check it was you guys. Yeah, it was, and that was only last minute as well. That just popped into my head just before we came on, and I was like, I'm sure it's right. I just need to double check. But yeah, we're good. Because you asked me the same thing when I came on here, did you? So
yeah, well, I couldn't remember which one of It's Sobriety that I'd met, as in which name, because I think that you probably, as being two faces on the front of Instagram, like us, people don't often know who's who. Even though we've done Here's Alex, Here's My Story, Here's Lisa, Here's My Story, more honestly, at least twice a week, somebody will get us mixed up. We've just had a whole marketing campaign about a radio show put out, and our faces were they Lisa and Alex under Alex and Lisa? They were the wrong way around.
Yeah, they were all the wrong way. And I did a video in our Facebook group the other day, and somebody was like, "Oh, thanks for that, Alex." And I can't help but be like, really? She gets the credit for everything.
I don't.
I'd be exactly the same. I'd be like, do I look like a Josh? I'm a Ross.
Well, that's really funny, Ross, because I actually said to my girls the other day, I was like, I don't even look like an Alex. And they both looked at me for ages and they were like, yeah, you do actually. And I said, well, she definitely doesn't look like a Lisa. And they were like, yeah, she could do.
I'm quite glad about it. I don't know why you're so offended to be an Alex. It's such a cool name.
I'm not, I love it. I think it's wonderful. I love your name. She's actually called Alexandria. So it's not Alexandra, it's Alexandria, which I think is a really beautiful name.
It is a very beautiful name.
I used to hear it quite a lot as a teenager. Didn't I? Alexandria.
Anyway, you two. Let's talk about you two.
Yes.
Yeah, let's. So would you just bring us up to speed? Like, where did it all begin? Your drinking story? And just talk to us.
Who's going first?
Cool.
Yeah, go on, Josh.
I'll take the lead on it. So I guess Ross and I have worked and known each other for a very long time, and we've had a very good, healthy relationship as well as a competitive one, and we've always thrived off each other. And we both had very similar lifestyles, which obviously we'll go into in a minute, and Ross will give his side and I'll give mine as well. But It's Soberated essentially started at the beginning of the year. We were both at the same time, as well as Javi, who's our third partner in It's Soberated. We were all sober at the same time. For me, I was scrolling through Instagram and social media constantly, trying to seek some sort of validation or interaction from someone, because I wasn't socializing as much. And then you slowly start to stumble across sobriety communities. And I think at that point in time, we noticed that there weren't any male-orientated sobriety pages.
Oh, I've noticed that, Joshua.
So when it came down to it,
the one that's looking for them, yeah.
I was just thinking that then. I thought, shall I say?
No, she is definitely looking for them. So she noticed.
Come on, anyway.
We got to a point where we found it quite hard at the fact that we can't talk to the lads about it, because you try and talk to a lad culture about not drinking, it's not perceived very well. You try and talk to family and friends that do drink, they don't quite understand it. As a bloke, you've got this stigma about having to sort of man up, which is, in my opinion, a load of rubbish. And it just got to the point where we spent a lot of time talking to each other. We spent a lot of time supporting each other. And we thought, well, why don't we try and break down this stigma of men or young lads not being able to find their place in a sobriety community. So that was our initial goal, was just to create a page, tell our story, and just say, look, we're not scared about talking about it. We're big and ugly enough to say we're sober, and it's just grown from there. I mean, it's exciting. It's interesting. It's opened our eyes, and everyone's been incredibly welcoming. I think our stories about why we went sober can be simplified. I don't think they're podcast allowed.
Anything's allowed on this podcast. Right? You've said it now, so come on.
You asked for that.
You told us to get the juicy questions out, and now
I mean, we'll let you fight the questions as you want.
Yeah, you take the lead on the questions, then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Oh, we don't know what to ask. That's not fair. We're on the back foot.
Oh God.
I mean, Ross, do you add anything to the build or the build up of what we're building?
No, yeah. I mean, we've said it. You've said it all there, really. Yeah, the big thing for me on, I suppose, a personal level was the social side of things. I couldn't get my head around why it was kind of socially unacceptable to sit in a pub and have an alcohol-free beer or a lime and soda and not get the shit. Can we swear on this? I've gone for it. Not get the shit given to you by the lads. And it just didn't seem right. And then, like we say, we reached out to people on Instagram. We kind of looked through it. This community started to grow in and around us, and we were thinking, wow, this is great. And that's kind of went from there. Obviously, I met you guys like we touched on, and it's quite evident there and then that even just meeting that your group in Manchester, that kind of blew my mind, because by that point I hadn't been sober maybe more than 2-3 months.
Wow.
But I was very sociable. After 2 or 3 weeks, I was out until 2-3 in the morning with friends that were drinking, and some of the girls that I met out on that night out hadn't. It was their first night out, and some of the girls had been sober nearly 2 years, and I was kind of scratching my head thinking, this has got to change. There's got to be something that can be done, just in my mind, and that part of things with the social side of alcohol-free drinking and being sober in the community, out in the pubs and stuff.
It was quite female orientated that night as well. Like, we do have some guys in the Be Sober meetups, but usually they.
I mean, I wasn't complaining. I did mention that to Joshua.
It was just you, Ross, and I think my husband.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, your husband went. I forgot about it.
Did Lucy bring a male friend as well? Lucy Sprigg.
Oh yeah, they were quite. If you look at that, I don't even remember when I were on mocktails all night.
That's right.
And I still don't remember stuff.
It's the sugar rush now.
You know what? That is a real thing. That
lots of caffeine and lots of sugar.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, so that's really good then. So you were quite newly sober at that point then.
Yeah, it was all pretty fresh for me at that point. I didn't really, to be honest, I remember Siobhan had mentioned it, like, I want to introduce you to some friends. I'm thinking, a group of 3 or 4. And then I walked into that, was it Speaking Code, that real cool cocktail bar. And there was just this table full of you guys, just sort of like, hey. I was like, oh God, it's intimidating.
Did you have to do a bit of deep breathing? I'd have been nervous doing that. I still get social anxiety, so...
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Yeah, big time. Big time.
So come on, then. Let's start with Josh. What kind of brought you to sobriety? That's open there.
I mean, for me, there's several layers to this story, and I always find it quite hard on how to approach it or how to explain my journey into sobriety.
Yeah.
Because there are so many layers as to why I did it, and so many reasons. So I guess it depends, which side of the story I tell. But we spoke about this morning, funnily enough. I was talking to Javi about it, and we were just saying, as we start to publicly talk to people and we start to express ourselves in our stories, how much truth do we tell? And I think it's quite important that we do be as honest as possible. Because it's important that people can relate. And I think so many people are on the same page at the same time without actually admitting it.
Yeah,
and unless people speak up about it, unless people say, look, this is me and I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve, it's hard for other people to say, do you know what? I'm actually going to try and make a change myself. And what we've always said is we never want to preach. We haven't gone sober to preach. We've gone sober to benefit ourselves. And from benefiting ourselves, we've created and evolved as people and as a community. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So I'll try and keep it short because I do tend to waffle.
You never waffle.
Yeah.
It's really hard, you know, when you're saying then about all different layers, like Alex and I have been working together now or doing the sober experiment for over 12 months, and only I'm now just getting together bits of my story, because there was that much of it. You don't know which bits to kind of focus on, but they all, so I really get that. So just
get it. Both of us.
That's exactly.
It takes practice to kind of get your bit right.
We proper struggled with that.
That's the beautiful thing I've found with sobriety, though. That's the beautiful thing, like reflecting and have each time something happens in your sober life. I find I'm reflecting on when I was drinking and unpeeling those layers. Essentially, that you're realizing more and more and more about yourself and kind of what you were and now where you're at.
I get annoyed with myself sometimes because I think, I've missed that bit out, and then I think, well, you can't tell it all. You know, there's so many bits and pieces. There's so many reasons to why I drank in the first place. Then there's so many reasons to why I no longer drink, and they don't all meet up. They don't. You know, little areas of my life where something popped in and I should have stopped and I didn't, and then I should have stopped and I didn't, and you know, they all add up really to the reasons that you stopped, don't they? Because ultimately,
for sure.
For me, rock bottom isn't necessarily like living on the street, down and out, gone, done. It's a collection of small things that add up to being the final straw for me.
Yeah, you can be at rock bottom.
Get excited for Josh's story. I'm like, right, come on, let's shut up, Alex. I know your bit.
Oh, is that Alex? I thought that was Lisa.
Hey.
You should have a bell like you had last night for that.
Right, go on, Josh.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of layers, but I mean the basics of it. I was born and raised in southern Spain, so I come from a town that a lot of British people know as Marbella. It's a party scene. It's full of hen do's and stag do's. It's got huge tourism in summer, and it is just completely dead in winter. So living in that environment from a very young age, 11, 12, I was exposed to my town where I grew up, which is Portobello's. And you very quickly adapt to your peers in that environment, which tends to be drink and drugs and late nights and all of that. So I got caught in the trap at a young age, and it was a lot of fun. I don't think I abused it. I don't think it was excessive. It was just fun, and it was teenage chaos. I then started to become quite ambitious. So I had a lot of personal goals that I wanted to achieve. So I used to set myself different targets as I was going through my teenage years and my early 20s. And I'd always had this vision of ultimate success. And to me, at that point in time, and it's different today, that point in time, ultimate success to me was finance, was being financially secure, having a cool car and a big house. And that was, I'd made it. And obviously, as you age, your wants change. But when I was going through this ambitious phase in my early 20s, I was heavily drinking. We were always partying. Ross and I have been in medical recruitment for almost a decade. So a heavy sales environment with big targets and making lots of money comes with drink, drugs, and partying as much as you can. And it got to the point where I was trying to run two paths at the same time. So I was trying to be incredibly ambitious. At the same time, I was trying to not miss out on any parties or weekends that were happening. And those two worlds collided. And when they collided, it started to affect my work. It started to affect my personal life. It started to affect my relationships. I met a girl in a nightclub when I was 21. 9 months later, she delivered a little boy.
Oh, that poor lad's going to watch this one day.
Yeah.
That's what happened, is it? Yeah.
I met his mum at 6 a.m. in the morning. It was one of them. So yeah. And then when he was born, I was only turning 23. So for me, it was quite a young age. I hadn't actually achieved anything that I wanted to, and that relationship didn't work out, and I hold my hands up to it. You know, I chose a heavy lifestyle over actually being a young, sensible father. So I lost that relationship. I was on the brink of losing him as well. I didn't get to see him for quite a while. And all of that starts to play on your mind, and it starts to make you question your decisions. It starts to make you question the friendships you've got, the party scenes. And then it led on to changing that mindset. So I gave up drink 4 times. So I went sober every year in January. I made it my New Year's resolution, and I ran 3 months. Then I ran 6 months the year after, started drinking again. Then the following year I did 6 months again. And then with the drink, and because currently now we own a business. So it's a medical recruitment business. There's 2 of them, and we've got a high turnover. We're nearly at £20 million in TO. So we're a big business, and there's 33 people that we look after now. And that needed a lot of time and dedication. And on that journey, there was a huge decision that needed to be made. It was like the welfare of the people that work for us, and giving the people that work for us the time and the respect that they deserve for us to grow as a business, or it's a selfish act of we go out and we blow the money that we're making and we drink ourselves stupid and we just enjoy this rush that never really lasts. So I think it's a huge combination of all of that. But it was 1 year and 6 months ago today, by the way. So
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I was on a trip with some friends, and there was about 15 of us, and we drank every single day and every single night. And it got to the point where I got back to the UK and I didn't feel right. I had cluster headaches, which I got diagnosed with, which is like heavy strain and pressure, which causes spasms in your blood arteries and blood vessels in your brain. So from that, I thought, right, this is too much, like too extreme, and we're trying to do too much at the same time. So it was just an ultimate decision 1 year and 6 months ago that I decided to make. My first step was just downloading an app and just saying, today's the day. And I pretty much look at it every day, if not every other day. And I just it's a reminder of why I'm doing it. I think I need to look at that so that I don't just have a drink and say, well, it's just one, and I'll go back to being sober tomorrow. So I need that accountability. So yeah, that's my main reason for it. And it's Soberated is my saving grace. And as well as, you know, people like yourself and Ross and everyone else around me is huge.
That's amazing.
Well done, mate.
Can't let the others down, can you now either? You know, like I always feel that release from like, well, we've got the sober experiment now, just one. Oh, I know I won't be able to do it.
Yeah. But there's so much, like my time. So my relationship with my parents has solidified. You know, it was non-existent until about 3 years ago, and it was 3/4 years ago where I started to make those changes. And I started to prove to my family that I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be a good businessman. I wanted to be, you know, healthy and fit. I wanted everything that was right for me, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, that's just so inspiring, because it's just, especially when you're running a business, it's difficult and you don't often connect the two, do you? It's easy to go and drink and celebrate and do these things. Like, I run a business with my mum, and since we stopped drinking, that has just flourished. It's amazing. It now employs my 2 eldest children. Like, that would never, ever have happened had I still been drinking? Well, one, me and my mum just wouldn't have been able to be in the same room, for goodness sake. And now I've got like there's four of us, and we have a few other people that we employ, but it just wouldn't have happened. And I just think that story is so inspiring, and you did a really good job of connecting all that together.
You know what?
Yeah, mate.
It's funny that you say that about working and not getting it there. So this is something that Ross doesn't know. It's something that the people around me don't know. And
hello, what's going on here then?
My sister, that we won't mention it, but Ross fancies my sister, right?
Yes.
It was just the other day I was sitting with her, and she was my first employee. So she sat with me outside, and we're having a chat. And she turned around and she said, "Listen, I just want you to know that as your little sister, I'm super proud." And for me, I'm not an emotional person or very touchy-feely. But when she said it, I felt it. And I said to her, "What makes you say that?" And she said, "Just where you are today in comparison to where you were about 2 years ago." And this is when I was really starting to dedicate to sobriety. I had to go to a meeting in London with one of my shareholders in the business, and we kept it very under wraps. We went to a meeting in London. We sat with the bank. We sat with the liquidators. We sat with HMRC, and it was a whole day meeting. And they said, "You are not going to survive. Like, this is the end of your business, and it's time to liquidate the company, relinquish the assets, and inform all your employees that there's no business left." You know. So for me at that moment in time as well, that was really hard hitting, because I'd noticed how my time and effort into this idea and this vision that I had of a business was not going to come to fruition with my drinking behavior. And me going out and spending Thursday evening partying, Friday hungover, not putting the efforts into the business. Monday, I haven't got energy. Tuesday, I can't really be bothered. Wednesday, I'm back on it. All of a sudden, I'm letting my vision down and everybody else around me. And I'm putting everybody's jobs at risk, because I'd rather spend my time with girls and clubs and pubs and friends, and it was a spiral. It was a very bad spiral. And yeah, you touching on that, saying we're not being in the same room as your mum and getting to where you are today with what you've got, I completely and totally relate, because we are in a completely different position today as a business.
That's just amazing.
It is an amazing story. But yeah, you've definitely spent more time on your story, getting it together, and we need to do some work, Lisa.
I was just thinking, oh my God, he's stitched me right up here.
And that's the short version.
Well, it was a good version.
Yeah, it was.
Mate,
So
well
let's
done.
hear about you then, Ross.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know really where to start from off the back of a very detailed account. But I think for me, mine really started, again, talking about reflection. When reflecting, I've always drank quite regularly. I think I grew up in a home where it was just normal to go to the pub on a Wednesday, like the football club. I grew up playing football, so my dad would go to the football club with me, he'd have a beer. Same at the weekend. It was just normal to do that. My mum enjoys a glass of wine every night, the occasional bottle here and there. So it was quite a normal thing growing up. So I never really thought I've got a problem. There was a time in 2018 where, before me and Josh worked together again, I attempted to set up a medical business. Didn't go to plan, so that went down the hole. At the same time as that, I came out of a relationship, and it all just hit at one time. So I think that was probably the trigger for where I found myself moving into a bit of a habit from drinking. The habit being, rather than going out on a Wednesday for a couple and then like a cheeky night out on a Saturday, it became a Wednesday for more than a couple, a Thursday for more than a couple, and then a Friday or a Saturday, or if not both. I mean, over my 30th birthday and my 31st birthday, as a matter of that, you know, I drank every day for 2 weeks, where it was just like one friend would come out, "Oh, I didn't see you on your birthday," you know. And this habit kind of came about. Like Josh, not like Josh. Josh managed it, but myself, I tried to go sober a couple of times, and it wasn't to to do a stint like I'm on now. It was really, I just wanted to detox and kind of freshen up and then think, oh, you know, I'll treat myself to a night out in a month, but I could never do it. And it was because of the social pressures of drinking. I'd go to the pub, I'd see the friends. I'm just having a soda and lime tonight, boys. Yeah, cool. That's a load of rubbish. You're never going to make it. Pressure. Oh, okay, I'll have a shandy. Then I'll have another beer, and then I'll have another beer, and then it's 4 a.m, and it's like, okay, whose house is open? Let's go there, and sit in a kitchen and talk nonsense, and that was repetitive. And during that time, I could see that my performance at work with Josh wasn't firing. I've always been very good at what I do within that part of the industry, and I just wasn't performing to 100%. I was then calling in sick in the week. I mean, Josh will tell you some of the excuses I've made. Like, I would call him out. I mean, I told him my dad was in hospital once. You know, the cat must have died a few times. All these random excuses, and they were bad. Like, and I'm lying to someone I consider a very good friend who I also work with, and that's playing on my mind. Physically, I was out of shape. I've always been very sporty and very into my gym, but I just looked terrible. My skin was dry. I had a beer belly. Got a terrible photo that maybe one day I'll pop on Instagram and show the difference.
Yeah, we love a good before and after.
Oh my goodness.
Have you not seen ours?
I'm glad you said that, Lisa. I said to Javi, did you remember what I said to Javi, Josh? I was like, should I put the before and after? And he was like, no, people don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Have you seen ours? Our square before and after on our Instagram.
No, we've just got the before, but not got the after. No, this is the after.
This is the after. Yeah. Well, you saw us on our night out, and that was like the very best of the after.
Probably only saw your cleavage that night.
Shut up, you!
I remember it well, Alex.
Well, you know, you've got to make the best of your assets.
That's it.
Pushing into your 40s.
So where was I? You've distracted me now with your cleavage.
Well,
can I just clarify, my cleavage isn't out now for anyone listening and not watching, because I've distracted you with my cleavage.
Well, that's what she likes to think. If you are listening and not watching, that's what she wants you to think. But yeah, no. So where was I? So I was looking terrible, and all in all, on reflection, I was moving into or in a state of depression. I just wasn't myself. I lost all my confidence. I couldn't get every part of my life just wasn't where I wanted it to be. So from the social side to, having a girlfriend, I didn't have one. I couldn't get one. I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? Business could have been better. I wanted to perform better. I wanted to go better there. I would lost touch with lots of friends that I would normally catch up with maybe on a fortnightly or monthly basis. And my family as well. I was letting my family down. So they were like the key areas that, when I reflect, that I knew at the time, but would never be able to pull it all together. But these things were happening. And then similar to Josh, I woke up one Sunday morning, which was towards the end of November time. And I just felt it was just one of those hangovers where you just think, what have I done? I had all the anxiety. I was throwing up everywhere, like just water coming out of places I didn't know water could come out of. I was sweating profusely. It was just horrible. And same thing. I downloaded the I Am Sober app, and also in this journey, it's worth mentioning Siobhan, who does not so secretly sober.
Yeah,
she'd been helping me understand, and there was one thing she said to me. She was like, "It's all good saying you're going to go sober. You need to understand why." That morning was the morning I woke up and understood why. And I thought, right, I'll do 4 weeks. And I said to Siobhan, I'm doing 4 weeks. I think I said to you, Josh, I'm doing 4 weeks. I'm just gonna have a detox, see how I get along. And by week 3 and week 4, I'd lost, I think, something like 4 pounds in body weight. I could see a noticeable difference. I was eating cleaner because I had a clearer mind. The clarity in my mind was just like, it was as if it was really kind of like out of body, surreal, this feeling. I can never explain it to anyone, but I remember just reflecting, thinking, how do I feel? And then thinking, wow, I feel really good. I don't think I want to have a drink again. And that was the 21st of December was when I was meant to start drinking again. At that point, again, I think my sales for the business had gone probably nearly doubled, and things were just looking really good. And I thought, right now, I just got to stick to it and see how far I can go. And I spoke to Siobhan, and she again gave me some great advice. Spoke to Josh. Josh was there, and he became what did you call it? The accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like
Accountability partner. It was just like, look, if you ever feel like you need a drink, just shout me. And there hasn't been that many times where I thought about it, but that kind of was me kind of confirming to myself that, yeah, I'm ready for this now. And then in the coming weeks and months, obviously we met you lovely ladies, went up to Manchester, saw a different side of the sober world, which I really enjoyed, as well as all the different parts of my life just coming back together.
Remembered the
Fitness,
cleavage,
mindset.
which you wouldn't have remembered if you were drinking.
yeah.
I wouldn't have. You're very true. Very true.
Can I just say,
all
this
these
has been
areas are
such a talking point now. It's January, right? I really don't think it was that much of a big deal, and you've made it now.
You know what I do want to ask you though, Ross, because just saying that you was meant to drink again like just before Christmas, so that would have been a really difficult time. I'd imagine we hear that a lot, like Christmas is a tough time, New Year. So how did you find that, and how did you handle that?
Do you know what? There was one standout night, which I think was Christmas Eve, which I struggled with. I struggled quite bad, but generally it was all okay. The way I taught myself to kind of counteract the social aspect of things was having a alcohol-free beer in a pint glass topped with lemonade. So then automatically everyone thinks you're boozing, and I kind of made a game of it. So up until that point, I still thought I was going to be drinking. That was the game, and that was how I was getting along with it. And then made that decision. Right, I'm gonna go for it. And then there was the Christmas rush. And there was one night that was quite difficult, and I remember sitting back in the side of the pub and just kind of watching everybody be really merry and old lang syne, and it was all just sort of like, and I just couldn't. I'm quite an energetic person, quite sociable. That's not something that would bother me normally, but I couldn't muster the energy to get involved and kind of get in the middle of the circle and just kind of be a prat. But so that night I went home a little bit earlier, and I was a bit downbeat and felt a bit low. But the next morning I woke up fresh. It was Christmas morning. I got to see all my family, and I'm telling you, the last 3 or 4 Christmas mornings before that day, I ruined Christmas with my family and even my friends. I'd turn up drunk. I'd sleep on the sofa all day. It was just refreshing to wake up and just thinking, actually, there's a reason why I've done this, and that this is it right now. Feeling fresh face and being able to see my family converse and actually have a good time and remember it. Be present.
Times, doesn't it? The morning after moments to kind of hit you in the face and go, oh, reminder. Yeah, that's what. Because it's so. I mean, I did what you just described really early on and went to a wedding, and I remember, and Lisa will tell you as well, I remember those feelings you're describing so well. Everybody dancing and me thinking, oh my God, I'm sticking out like a sore thumb here. I'm sat here in the corner with my non-alcoholic beer. Woe is me. You know, like,
yeah. Is it worth just having a quick beer? No one will know and it'll be all right. But
it gets easier though, doesn't it? And not only does it get easier to do, you actually start to really enjoy it. And you know when it's time to go home, like that night when we were out, you know, we were stepping over zombified bodies.
We were, I think we left there late, didn't we? That was like what, 12, wasn't it? Maybe later.
It was quite late.
I think we left after 2.
No.
No. Do you know what? I think you're right, because Siobhan kept me up with tea and biscuits until about 4:30 in the morning, just chatting nonsense. So it was late. It was very late.
Can I ask you both about, like, you know, Lisa and I was 40. Was I 40? Yeah, 40 when I stopped drinking. Lisa, you were almost 40 when you stopped drinking. Like, you know, you both, like, did you say you were early 30s? Am I guessing?
So I've just turned 30.
So like, to do that, you know, you've got
just
turned us basically, and like that must feel. Is it forever? First of all,
lying? Is he lying, Ross?
No, 1990. I'm 1990.
No, in my head I was thinking, shit, he's younger than me, isn't he?
Yeah, I have that problem with her, but it's like, you know, first of all, is it a forever thing, or do you not say forever? Or are you just saying, look, this is what we're living right now? And second of all, whatever your answer to that is, are you glad you've done this so young?
Yeah.
I mean, we've both got different answers to this question, haven't we, Josh? For me, I don't say forever. I will say never. Like if someone says, will you have a drink again? My answer is I'll never say never, because I feel like if I say never, life is a long time. Anything could happen. I don't plan to, but I feel like if I did and I did say never, I then feel like I've created failure and I failed at something, when I don't really want to have that. I want to have that flexibility. I don't see myself ever doing that, but that's just my opinion on that question.
It's very much my answer, that.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, is it?
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. I was actually quite worried about just answering that then, because I have given that answer to other sober people and they have a very different opinion on it.
My answer is I intend to stay sober forever. I really genuinely do, but like a very long time. And so, and also if I said forever, not you said about the failure, for me it's just like it's setting yourself a massive goal. Like I'm sober now, so you know that's good enough. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, that's it. And look, if things do get rocky and it does happen, I really like the idea, and it's something that we'll probably see more of for It's Soberated, is these mindset sober challenges. I think sobriety is more than just life. Like people can pick it up at different stages of their life and do 6 months like Josh did in the past, do 3 months, maybe just do a year if you've got other goals in your life you need to achieve. And I think that's for me what sobriety has given me. It's about helping me understand my goals and achieve them. And my goals are lifetime goals now. And yes, that's why I intend to be sober for a very long time, if not forever. But if I was to say I'd never have a drink again, I'd feel like I'm putting too much pressure on myself.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough answer, and I'd probably answer it fairly similarly. What about you, Josh, then?
Interesting. So I have a lot of theories, right? And I do way too much contemplating. And for me, it's the reverse. So for me, life is too short. I was 20 just a minute ago. I was 10 2 minutes ago. I'm now 30 years old. I know that 40 is coming round, 50 will be next, 60 will be after. I sit and talk to my grandfather who's half a century older than me. And every time I talk to him, he talks to me as if he's still 21. So for me, life is too short. And I've made a decision. It took me quite a while and several attempts to stick to that decision. And I think now that I've ultimately committed to it, I have no intention of going back on it. I'm also a very structured person. So I think it also depends on your personality type, because I do struggle a lot with OCD. So for me, the fact that I see a timer and I'm doing something and I'm regularly checking it and I have to see it, to break that would cause probably a mental breakdown. And but for me, it's also the fact that when you try a food and you don't enjoy it, you don't go back to it. And I enjoyed alcohol a lot. I enjoyed alcohol so much to the point that I put myself off it. And I think now that I put myself off it, the thought of having a beer, the thought of drinking alcohol actually puts me off. So I think my mindset is ultimately stuck with the forever side of it. However, even with that thought process, I've still had moments in time where I've actually thought to myself, I could have a drink right now. And it typically happens when it's a sunny day. There's a lot of people around me.
It happened the other Friday, didn't it?
The music's on and you just smell a cider and you're like...
Me and Josh went out with the guys from work the other Friday, did we? Yeah. And they're all drinking. Obviously, we're not drinking, and it felt like it needed something. It felt like it needed someone to grab the ball by the. It needed it needed someone to grab the ball by the horns and really take it into a mental night out. And we were sat there like, God. Sometimes you just think like, we were looking at each other going,
we need to show them, man.
Yeah, we'll show you when we
drink those
drinks. How you done it.
Do you know what though? We're like that because we've been together for so long as best friends. We've got that rebel still in us, and I know you're more rebel when you don't drink actually, but We have got that like rebel. Now, Lisa, I'll tell you now, would never. She'll say, you'd say forever, wouldn't you, Lisa?
Absolutely, yeah.
Forever.
I'm with you, Josh, on that. I think you two are so like us. It's really
you are.
weird.
Yeah, it's
It's
strange,
a little
isn't it?
bit weird.
Yeah, but we say, you know, I go like that to her, like, oh, you know what? Just and it's not like I want one. It's not like I'm going to do it. I know I'm not going to do it at the time I say it.
It's the guilty pleasure thought.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's exactly that.
we could party better than these lot here if we were pissed.
Oh yeah.
And she goes, yeah, we could, and that's it.
If 4 of us got on it, I reckon it'd be wild.
Can you imagine the sober community just going, you know what? Let's forget it. Let's just all go back to drinking and we'll go out together. It would be absolute carnage because everyone on this journey is a lunatic, aren't they?
Yeah. You've got to be. I think to be sober as well, you've got to be a strong person. You've got to be strong-willed. You've got to be determined. You've got to be ambitious. You've got to want. And it takes a stronger person to make a decision, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever else it may be. It could be anything. A relationship. It takes a strong person to make a decision and stick to it. And I think you're right. I think the sober community is probably one of the strongest types of community you can get because it's all walks of life. It's any person from any country. It's you know, it's a beautiful thing.
It's amazing, isn't it? It is. Were you surprised how much you have enjoyed being sober and what a difference it has actually made? Like, I remember thinking, I didn't think I drank that much for my life to be so awesome now. Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah. It's a secret that only we know, and that's the most frustrating part. It's because when everybody drinks, they ask you questions. On our page, we get friends, family, and strangers say, hey, how'd you do it? And they ask you secretly. They don't want their friends to know. They don't want to ask you about it when you're together. They want to just send you a secret message and ask you. And you almost want to just take a little bit of that feeling out and just give it to them and say, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
But explaining it to someone is hard because it's so hard. It is so hard to just get it through people's heads without preaching and just saying, listen, just try it, you know?
Do you know what Lisa says? If you could bottle sobriety, you'd make millions, wouldn't you?
It'd be the best medicine on the planet.
You really would. It's like, I love the fact that you're like an all male account. You're tapping into that audience. Can I ask, do you get like a lot of, because something else that isn't talked about is men's mental health.
Yeah, we're big on that.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of like inquiries, and are you doing a lot around that?
So it's a good question. It's a very good question. So I'll touch briefly on it because this is Ross's subject all over. This is his bread and butter. So from an account perspective, we are in conversation with a mental health supporting business. So as our business, which is medical recruitment, during the whole pandemic series that's going on at the moment, we engaged with a company which offers free one-to-one mentoring sessions for children from the age of 5, 6 all the way up to adolescence. And for us, it's a huge part of the journey because there are so many underlying issues that people don't talk about, especially within men's mental health. And today I saw the statistics for men's suicide is the highest it has ever been in 20 years. And nobody is publicly addressing it because you got to man up. And that's what blows my mind. It's you can't express yourself as much as other people can because there's a stigma behind it. And we're definitely addressing it, and we're definitely going into partnership with It's Soberated and the mental health support unit. And we're going to make a big deal about it. A big deal.
Good.
Yeah. That's what I'm most excited about. Like there is a lot to come from It's Soberated and the mental health side of thing and the support. Like Josh said, I'm massive on it. I think the reason I'm massive on it is because my journey, my career in a sense, started within the NHS and the private sector, working in mental health. What that did to me was make me think that I was invincible, that I knew mental health inside and out, and my brain was the strongest brain in the planet. I couldn't get depression. I couldn't get psychosis. I couldn't get any of the other mental health issues that surround it. And all of a sudden, due to drinking and going out of control and creating this habit, I was absolutely walloped from the side and started having my own mental battles, which is the main one was really depression and I suppose low self-esteem. Obviously coming out the back of that with sobriety, and sobriety being that medicine, like that has helped my confidence. I don't have these, I mean, you have your low days, everybody does. You have those days you just think, fuck this, I can't be bothered, but it's not like it was. And I've kind of gone off on a tangent here, but with the mental health thing, I thought I was invincible. I think every man out there does think that. And what's been incredible is, and
I thought we were.
Yeah, maybe we are, but well, we are for sober. But no, we've what I think is incredible is the amount of men that have reached out through It's Soberated, but then also in my friendship groups, I've got quite a large friendship group. I'm from a town called Northampton where everybody knows everybody. So like, you know, you sneeze and someone from the other side of the town knows you just sneeze kind of thing. But a lot of the guys that I've been out with, drunk with over the years, friends of friends have reached out and just been like, look, how'd you do it? And I'm struggling. I'm not feeling too good. I'm feeling a bit depressed. And it's lovely to feel that they've got the confidence in me to be able to come to me and trust that because I've gone on that journey and been very vocal about the mental health side of things, they can come out to me, do it. But it's also a little bit sad that they feel like they can only come to me at the moment and they can't maybe go to their best mates or their parents or whoever else might be surrounding them, and there could be potential support networks. So there's a lot that, you know, the world has to do with regards to mental health, and you know, hopefully we can help support that. Yeah,
it's just so hard to spot though, isn't it? Because, you know, I have talked about this last night when we went on that radio channel, but when I went to my GP a few weeks back, because I've got an anxiety disorder and I didn't even know I had it until I got sober and realised that I'd been dulling it out with the alcohol, and now I've got to face it and deal with it. And you would never know to look at you know, know to look at us that these problems are going on, because we can all plaster on a smile, we can all have a laugh. And I think people think that if you're depressed or if you've got anxiety, you're going to be obviously distressed. And that's not the case for a good percentage of the time, is it?
That's right.
So when you are alone and you are feeling it, you don't know who to go to. And even if you did, I don't think many people, including myself, I mean, I'm very lucky I've had Lisa, but if I hadn't have had Lisa, I don't even know if I'd be here. I genuinely don't know.
Do you think that
reaching out to someone,
as much as there's a stigma, that we have a real bad habit of stigmatizing ourselves? As much as, you know, it's like you said, Ross, you thought you were invincible, that couldn't happen to you. And it's still hard, I think, for anybody to reach out. I just think it is. I know, like,
it is.
Say about anxiety, and I know I get times where I'm just really low, and I would never, and I don't even know why. I don't even know, but I'm not the type of person, maybe it's the way I've been brought up, that would actually reach out and say, you know what, I'm really struggling now. Or I might say I'm struggling, but I'll be all right. I'll get over it. I'll be fine. That's kind of where it is.
Yeah, I think so many times as well, and this is one of the biggest frustrations that I have with people. It's the second. So I've struggled with mental health issues since day dot. I went to counselling at school when I was a young teenager, all the way through to now. I've had therapy sessions. I've gone through everything. Suicide attempts, the lot. It's a huge thing that's always been around. The biggest frustration for me is that if something is bothering you and you need to address it, but you don't feel like you should because it's so petty, because it is such an insignificant thing to the person next to you, but it could be the biggest problem for you. And you can say, I'm really not happy at the moment because I don't like the way I look. The person next to you will say, well, think about the children in Africa. Think about the homeless children on the streets. Why don't you think about the people that haven't been fed tonight? And you think, I understand that, but that isn't my environment. That's not the position that I am in as a person. And this is what I'm dealing with mentally or psychologically right now. And the following day, that same person that's told you to think about someone else is now having a bad day. And they don't want to talk to the person next to them about the fact that they don't like their new haircut and it's really starting to bug them, and they don't like going out in public. And it could be something as little as that. And I think one of the things that we want to try and address is when we talk about mental health, we want to talk about it as a social conversation, exactly like we're doing now. Because the biggest problem that I had personally when going through anything that I went through was the fact that when I had to sit in front of professionals, one, I didn't feel comfortable because I don't want to talk to you and I don't particularly know you. And when I finish telling you what I need to tell you or what we need to discuss during this session, the second I walk out, I know you've got someone else walking in. Yeah. So you've got zero interest in me whatsoever. So therefore, releasing it might have made me feel good. But when I get home tonight, I still feel exactly the same.
And you're still alone because you still can't just call on that person and say, actually, you know what, there's something else I want to talk about. And, you know, when my doctor prescribed medication, honestly, I was like devastated. If I'd have broken my leg, my arm, I'd have happily had a plaster on it, but I was devastated. Like, this is an illness. Oh my God, I've got an illness. Like, I wouldn't accept it. And it just kept saying, you're not accepting that there's a chemical imbalance in your brain. And I don't fully accept it. Lisa still speaks to me on a regular basis saying, look, you know, take the medication, Alex. Take the medication. Don't you?
Yeah.
It is all stigmatized, all the whole thing. So it's not around the conversations that we're not having, but about how
they're being had.
When you do have them.
It is how they're being had. And I think even the word mental health, and you know, like we find it in workplaces, and I see it with my children, like my son and youngest daughter struggle, but and I'm really open about things, and my son in particular, 17, he does not talk.
Because you don't get it. That's the problem they have, isn't it? I think as teenagers, it's mum doesn't get it, not knowing that mum's actually been through it 10 times over.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. But there's a thing that near us now, and it's Get Fit for Mental Wellness. You might have seen it on Instagram, actually. They're doing great things, and they do a walk. And I've said to like my son, come with me to that, but it's the full thing, Get Fit for Mental Wellness.
Yeah. It's the label.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. So like you say, having these conversations, casual conversations. Yeah. I'm really excited for what you two have got.
Me too.
I think just in the conversation that we've just had, I feel like I've personally opened up more to the three of you now in the last 10 minutes about mental health than I have in the last decade. Wow. And that's because I completely relate to everybody on this call. I completely associate to the situations that you're all having as well as I am. So there's complete relation, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think that makes such a big difference. And I was saying this to Ross the other day, and we were talking about it because we stay in the office and we brainstorm and we talk about loads of stuff. And one of the things that's hard is when you talk to someone about trying a vegan dish, for example, people don't want to try it because vegans preach.
You said this, didn't you, Lisa?
Yeah, it's vegans have got this, and I'm sorry to any vegans listening. Vegans have got this title that they're sort of naggy and preachy, and you shouldn't hurt cows and you shouldn't, you know, kill pigs. And it's like, well, you know, we don't. It's a hard conversation to have because sobriety is looked at that way.
Yeah, it's the stigma around the words, isn't it? So like, you know, when Lisa like is complete like what plant-based.
Yeah, I say I'm plant-based.
Vegan.
Because Alex's husband is a veganist, right? So when I go around, like he questions me not eating meat, but more than I question him eating meat, he questions me about not eating it like he does, doesn't he? All the time.
He's a pain, he's awful.
So I actually say I'm plant-based, or I don't eat meat, or I'm dairy free, or because there is such a stigma around it. So
And sobriety the
And
same.
it's the same with sobriety, yeah. And it's the same with anxiety and depression and suicide and mental
100%.
health.
And it's trying to find that fine balance between. So right, here's another example, and I won't go off too much. Someone turned around to me the other day and they were moaning about feminists. They were saying, God, feminists preach. And I turned around and I said, well, actually, stop a second, because I'm a feminist. And then they turned around and they went, well, what do you mean you're a feminist? I said, well, do you know the actual definition of feminism? And they didn't. In their head, feminists are extreme female rights, anti-men, move them out of the way, let the women take over the world. And it's not that. It's just about equality and balance among two sexes. That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
And sobriety needs to be understood as well as every other aspect of society that's evolving at the moment. And I think we need to be the line in between the people that drink heavily and the people that are extreme sober. If we can be like, we're sober, but we're casual, we're happy and we're relaxed and we're just enjoying ourselves, it becomes a lot more approachable because people want to get to know you if you're not pushing it down their throat or, you're having open conversations like this. This is for anyone that wants to listen. And I'm sure,
I see with the vegan thing, like vegans two years ago, there was no vegan restaurants. There was a slight, maybe one dish on a menu in every other restaurant. But now there's restaurants popping up everywhere, and it shows how the scene has changed. I envision that. I say this to you a lot, don't I, Josh? That our sober community, yourselves included, Alex and Lisa, that can be pioneers in that changing the social side of things like that. I was witness to something last week where I've been speaking to my local pub where I always used to drink in. I'm good friends with the landlord and the landlady there, and they reached out to me. They've been doing it up through lockdown. And they said, look, we want to have some guilt-free options. And I was like, well, why? And they were like, well, because you always moan about there only being Heineken Zero. And also we have people come in and they're driving and then they've got nothing to drink. And then there's all this kind of thing. So there's a massive link, not just by going sober, but there's also a benefit to people that do drink, drink drivers, kind of that buddy system that you can have as well when you're going out and driving and stuff like that. And they reached out. They've stocked 3 or 4 different spirits and a full cocktail menu. They've also got an IPA, a stout and a lager, and they've stocked them all. Yeah. I spent the whole night up there on the opening night on Thursday. I tried everything. I was just like, yeah. And I was like, but what happened was I took a step back and I thought this could be potentially the future of like the social engagements that people have. If the sober community.
Yeah, Brewdog have done it.
They opened the first Old Street in Shoreditch. They opened the first non-alcoholic pub in Europe.
That's it. And it will follow.
I think you're right.
That's how I see it. And I want to be a part of that.
We're at the front of this, guys. We're at the beginning of it, and I've just
think
it's so exciting. I've absolutely loved talking to you both.
And you, it's been
all night. Honestly, I think
before you do go though, Lisa, I have to say they've opened the first vegan hotel in the UK now as well. So
nice.
That's moving even further.
Where is that?
I don't know. I saw an advert for it the other day and thought, I must remind Lisa, and then I've lost it. But I'll find it again for you.
Oh, thank you.
True. Definitely true.
I'll go with Siobhan.
Before we go, would you tell people where they can find you and your links and so on? And obviously, we'll pop it in the description as well.
Yeah. So I mean, our community name is It's Sober Rated. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and our email addresses, if anybody wants to reach out for any reason, it's ross@itssoberrated.com and joshua@itssoberrated.com.
Perfect. Well, it's been absolutely lovely, and we will have to do it again because there still seems to me like there's loads.
Oh, there's loads more to talk about.
Loads more, 100%.
Really is.
100%.
It really is. Oh, thank you so much. I think people are going to get a lot from that. It's really good.
Me too.
Fab.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking time with us, guys.
Thank you, girls. Thanks for having us. See you soon.
Bye.